All right, so we're going to look at lesson 3.0, which is the main part of the chapter 3 in your textbook. So I'm going to choose new. This design will be metric, so I'm going to choose a standard millimeter IPT and create. All right, so now that we have our file loaded, I am going to start a new sketch. Let's see, what plane do I want to do this on? I think 50. Make sure this is going to show up correctly on our, let's do this plane. All right, I'm gonna rotate it to where my top is right side up, and it wants me to use a 2-point rectangle and just kind of draw it of arbitrary size. Ooh, that's way big. So I'm gonna just put that right on there. Now I'm going to add dimensions. It wants this side dimension to be 75 and this dimension to be 50. All right, so we have our rectangle there, and here we can finish sketch. All right, and actually, I don't want that to be the front. I want that to be my home view. So what I want to do is I'm going to choose this. I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to set this current view as front. Then I'm going to hit this arrow, and I'm going to set this view as home. So now this should show up exactly like it does in the book. All right, so now we can extrude this, and it wants us to extrude this by 15 millimeters. Let's say okay. All right, so now we need to add the rounded feature to the other end. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start a new 2D sketch, and I'm going to rotate this around so that I put this sketch on the bottom plane of this part, which is very important. I'm going to rotate this back this way. It is upside down, but that's okay. So I'm going to choose a center point circle, and I'm going to hover over here until I hit the center point right there, where that little green dot flashes up. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm just going to go all the way to the other edge, and I'm going to click there. And that's all I have to do for this sketch. I'm going to finish sketch, come over here, there we go. And now I'm going to extrude this rounded feature. I'm going to select this, but unfortunately it's only going to give me one, so I've got to select both of those. All right, so it's going downward. We do want to join, so this is correct, but I want it to go upward. Still a join. All right, and it actually, this rounded feature will go above the rectangular feature. So we're going to extrude this by 40 millimeters. So it's going to stick up just like that. And say okay. All right, so now we're going to start a new 2D sketch, and we're going to put a hole right in the middle of that rounded feature we just made. So I started new sketch, selected the top face, and now I'm going to put another circle right on there. And it is going to be a diameter 30. There we go. Make sure you've put that directly on the same origin point. If for whatever reason you did not, these are two concentric circles, meaning that they share the same center point. You can select that constraint here, the thing that looks kind of like a little bullseye, select the larger circle and then the smaller one. And now they are perfectly concentric. Finish sketch, and we'll do an extrude cut through all. So we'll select that. Obviously we don't want that to be a join, we want it to be a cut. We'll specify through all and say okay. All right, so now we have to put the cut feature down here. So this actually has us using the hole command. So choose hole in the 3D model tab. It's going to bring up this menu here. So down here we want to make sure it's 20, which mine already is, but if not, click here and change it. And we want to make sure that this is a simple blind hole. It's just going to go straight through the part. Does not have a seat, meaning it doesn't end. And it does not have any counterbore, countersinks, or anything like that. But don't click OK or anything yet. So come over here and just kind of arbitrarily click right here on that face, and it's going to lay that hole there. Don't hit OK yet because we don't know that that hole is in the appropriate location. It's the appropriate size, but we don't know if it's in the right place. So I'm going to click on this edge here, and that's how I locate it from that edge. This is going to be 25. Okay? Don't hit enter. It'll update itself, because if you hit enter, that's the same as saying OK, and it will end the whole command. And we're not ready yet. All right, now choose the front edge, and this is going to be 30, and it will update itself. So once you have that, make sure your termination is through all, and your direction is down, and say OK. All right, so we have our hole, but if you've noticed in the book, this hole actually extends all the way through the edge. It's that cut feature there that goes all the way through it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start a new sketch, but this time I'm going to put it on this end here. All right, so I'm going to choose a 2-point rectangle that's going to go from this top edge to the bottom edge. So I'm going to choose dimension, and it looks like it is 20 wide, because remember it's going to match the hole that we just made, so the diameter is going to be the same size, 20. And then it's going to be 15 millimeters from the edge. Right, so that should be perfectly centered, and finish sketch. All right, so now we're going to extrude that. Make sure we are cutting. Choose your rectangle there. And what we're going to do here is going to be a to next. So make sure you choose cut, so that switched the direction for us. And over here we have other options. To next is the third option. And what that does is it will extrude it until it hits the next feature, which would be the hole we just created. So that goes straight to there and it terminates itself. And say OK. All right. And that is your actual part. Make sure you save this as 3.0 and your initials. I'm going to go ahead and save this, 3.0. And now we're going to make the drawing. So I'm going to come over and say new. Come down here to all my drawings. I want the regular ANSI millimeters. Create. I'm going to come up here and click base. This is kind of small, so I'm going to make it bigger. Let's see how big's 2. I can maybe go 3. Let's see. That might be too big, but let's see. We'll try it. There we go. Yep, that all fits nicely. There we go. I can actually bring these down a little. Right, and OK. All right, so now I can start dimensioning and annotating. First thing I do, I always do this first, is add my center marks and my bisectors. So I've added those two there. Remember, I don't ever add anything to your isometric. Now for my bisectors, I'm going to go from here to here because that's my hole, so that's the center. And same thing on the side view, there and there, because that's my hole. I'm not putting a bisector here because this is not a completely rounded hole. So we don't put one there. All right, so those are done. So now we can start putting our dimensions. So I'm going to start with my diameters on my circular features. Say OK. Now I'm going to do what would essentially be my overall length. Because it is a rounded feature, I'm not going to choose the length from this end to this end. I'm going to locate the center of my holes or my circles here. I'm going to do the same thing here, from the center to the edge. I'm just going to put that right in the middle here, because it's not within the part, and that way I don't have to drag it across the part either. Oh, I didn't put my diameter here. There we go. And this one here. Now I'm not doing an overall width here because essentially the overall width is the same as your diameter here. So I know how wide this is, I know how wide this is, so by deduction I know how wide this is. So now I'm going to come over here and I want to know how thick this is. Put that there. And my overall height I can put here. And let's see, have we missed anything? We've got height, we've got width, we've got length, and we have our circular features. All right, so that looks good right there. That should be everything. Make sure you save your work.